My name is Roy Francis. I'm a music and French teacher in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
All right, brother. Welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm great.
Travels?
Travels, feeling a little tired. Got into Orlando this morning at 2 o'clock after a trip to Montreal, and then down here and a little bit later, but we'll get there.
But you made it.
We made it, and it's exciting to be here.
It's all that matters, man. Well, first and foremost, this is the first official podcast recorded at FETC 2025 in beautiful Orlando, Florida. A little rainy, a little drizzly outside, but it looks like it should clear up, and things are looking pretty good. Tell us about the weather in Nova Scotia right now, man.
Honestly, we've had a non-winter winter. Right now, there's no snow on the ground, so there's very little skiing going on. It was about minus 2 degrees Celsius. So coming down here, 17 degrees. I know people in Florida think it's cold, but I'll take this any day.
You are wearing shorts.
I am wearing shorts. I'm also a runner, so for me, anything above freezing would be running in shorts weather. So.
There you go, man. There you go. Now, this is your first official FETC, right?
It is, yeah.
Is this your first in-person conference or FETC?
Of this scale, yes.
Okay.
I'm in Nova Scotia. We have some smaller conferences every summer for teachers, and I'm often either there as a presenter on technology and classroom things, or I'm attending. But to come to something as big as 8,000 people versus 250 people is massive. That's so
awesome,
exciting.
Man. Well, I'm going to give you a round of applause here. So congratulations on making it to beautiful Florida for your first ever FETC. Now, you teach music, right?
I do, yeah.
And we're cutting that music off right there. So tell us a little about what you do in your specific curriculum, specific with EdTech.
Right. Well, specifically with EdTech, I don't teach the band program. I have a general music class. So
there we go.
I know down here in the States, we'll often find people I follow who teach a music technology class. It's not exactly that because I still teach traditional instruments. My students learn to play ukulele, so I have a platform that we use where we can watch videos and see the music. Ukulele, yeah.
Oh, okay.
In Canada, ukulele used to be absolutely a huge instrument. It has made a comeback since the pandemic. It's an easy instrument for people to pick up. It's only 4 strings versus 6 on a guitar. They're relatively inexpensive, and it's a lot of fun to play them.
So I never thought about that.
Yeah. I use EdTech for that because there's a great platform where the students can see the music, hear and play along. But aside from the Google Suite things that we use, I have a couple apps I use specifically for music so students can compose and create. Flat.io, for example.
Flat.io.
It's a web-based and cloud-based composition platform so students can hear and notate music in real time with hundreds of different instruments. From a cost perspective, compared to Sibelius or Finale existed years ago, it's much more cost effective and it's web-based. Students can hear it in real time and they do all the same notation. It's absolutely incredible.
Okay, all right. You ever play around with Soundtrap?
I have played around with Soundtrap. In fact, I'm moving back to Soundtrap with students in the near future.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. Now, let's talk FETC. You did mention that you have attended and presented at various conferences of smaller size, not this magnitude.
Yeah, they're teachers from within our province or within our board, so much smaller.
Okay, and you got teachers from around the world here.
Yeah.
So, I know you haven't been here more than 24 hours, if that, right?
Not yet.
Yeah, so since you've come in, since you've registered, which probably took you about 20 to 30 minutes to do, right?
You know what? We got here early this morning, so registration was actually really quick and easy for us. I saw it winding around in a circular motion, and when we left, I was like, I'm glad we got here early.
Good for you guys. Good for you guys. How many of you are here from your team?
There are 4 of us traveling in a group here.
Okay.
There's more teachers from Nova Scotia, but this just our 4 in this group.
Okay. All right. Did you guys come up with a plan? Like, is your tactic, is it divide and conquer? Like, I'm going to hit these sessions, we're going to go to this, we're going to meet up and share notes. Are you guys hitting sessions together? Like, what is the game plan, if any?
There really isn't a game plan. We've all got very different interests in what we do with technology, and we each teach different areas and different subjects and different grade levels. So it's kind of, we're traveling together, but we will share notes. But there's very much these are my focuses and what I do in my classroom, but also what I want to work with teachers when I'm doing some of my AI lead team and professional development, so I'm expanding my own areas as well.
Okay, all right. You personally, not your team. This is going to sound horrible, but forget your team for right now.
It's about me too.
What is it you personally want to get out of this conference?
First of all, there's the networking opportunities.
Yes, sir.
Coming down here, we don't get the opportunity to have some of the big names in education come up to Canada. It would be nice to have the Matt Millers and the Holly Clarks and everyone come up to Canada.
And the Gabriel Carrillos.
And the Gabriel Carrillos, but we don't have conferences this big up here.
Okay.
It's one of the reasons I get to come down here. And so getting a chance to put faces to names and meet them and talk with them individually, but also to be inspired. One of my students said, why are you going to this conference? You already do EdTech with us. I'm like, yes, but there's no one teaching me the things I do with you in music with EdTech. I come up with them on my own, or this is my chance to go and learn from others. I'm like, okay. That's it. I want to learn from other people and be inspired and see what people are doing. There's a session on music and coding. Yeah, I do some music and coding, but I want to know what other people are doing because it's much more advanced than what I'm doing with you.
Yeah. I put myself in the shoes of a student a lot, and I always recall you guys listening obviously have no idea what we're talking about, but we got somebody over here taking a picture to our left, so we're going to smile real quick. Hey-o. So I always had it in my head that the teachers knew everything. Any piece of information that was relevant to the content or whatever it is we were talking about, they were the masters of anything and all. And we have Jen Womble, who just walked by as well. So I'm not going to let her just walk by without mentioning her name. But students sometimes don't realize that we are learners. We are lifelong learners. And if the second you stop learning, the second you stop attending a session, attending a conference like FETC, is the moment you become stagnant. It is the moment where your the creativity, the innovation, the new ideas, and the pedagogy comes to a halt. And then that's where you have that pivotal, tipping point of students are starting to get bored, things become bland, and all of a sudden they don't want to come to your class anymore.
That's right. But the other part of that you're sort of tagging into is that we are no longer the gatekeepers of knowledge. I learn as much from my students on apps, for example, that they learn from me. I'm like, oh, how'd you do that? Show me how you did that, because I haven't seen that. And so it's a conversation back and forth. I know some basics, and then they go a little bit deeper, and then I learn from them, and we share, and then it's collaborative.
Yeah. Now, is this your first podcast?
This is my very first podcast.
You guys listening, if you're watching the video, you could probably see it, but if you're listening, you can't see the teardrop I have coming down of just the tears of joy. I love to not only discuss with other educators, but also you mentioned it off air that getting out of your comfort zone, right? And for a lot of people, conferences are intimidating. My wife has yet to attend a conference of this magnitude. I was able to keynote at a smaller conference in San Antonio where she actually attended not as my sidekick as well, but as an attendee. And she hit a bunch of sessions and said, this is pretty cool. So she was able to get out of her comfort zone. And you're going to see with a conference of this magnitude, number one, the networking, like you mentioned, and you're going to learn things that you probably didn't know about and probably would not known about had you not gone outside your four walls, or in this case, over the border.
Absolutely.
So I just want to give you a couple pieces of advice. This is like my fifth or sixth FETC, and I do a bunch of conferences every year. How much of your day have you planned? Are you back to back, 100% kind of thing?
I've got a few breaks in there because I know I need to recharge. I want to get down to the expos and see some of the poster sessions that are up there as well, and walk around and see all of that. You got to build that into the time. Okay. Today is a pretty busy day, and tomorrow's not as bad, so there's a bit more time to relax and talk with people. And then Thursday's on the go, and Friday's, it's a shorter day here, but I've got a lot planned. And
Good.
Then there's the evening stuff as well. So
okay, so my first piece of advice was don't plan 100% of your day. When I was an administrator, one of the pieces of information that I learned from an educational leadership conference, my first one, was you plan about 60% of your day because the other 40 is going to get filled up with just a bunch of. I thought that was something else, another term in there, but it's going to get filled up with stuff, and you're going to hit that point at some point in the conference every day where you're like, I need a break. I forgot to eat today.
Yeah.
I need to go meet my team. I need to jot this down, or I have this idea from something I just learned that I'd like to implement in my classroom next week. If I don't get it down in your MEBO, is that what you called it?
NEBO, yeah.
NEBO, I'm going to forget it. So build yourself thoughtful breaks,
Sounds
intentional breaks. Have a plan for the evening, and don't be afraid to not plan anything for a couple hours and just network, just talk. That expo hall, did you bring an extra luggage or an extra case or anything for all the swag that you're going to be getting?
I travel down with carry-on, so if I have to buy a bag and check it, it will not be the worst thing in the world on the way home.
You're going to pick up a whole lot of swag in that expo hall.
That's good, because there's not a lot of room left in the carry-on right now.
Actually, you might be able to get another suitcase or something in the expo hall. So,
Confession, I actually, for the first session this morning, had 4 sessions still in my schedule, so I'm still double booking myself, like, which one am I going to? Which one am I going to? And I went to the one for the Merrills because one of my coworkers, coworkers knows them and said, you need to go and meet them. I'm like, well, okay, Laura said I got to meet them. It's one of my first sessions, first thing, so that's what I'm doing first thing this morning is going and meeting the Merrills.
It'll be very interactive.
And it was fantastic.
Awesome. Actually, they're going to be on the show, I want to say tomorrow. I love the Merrills. I call them Crow. Kristen and Joe. I mashed up their names.
Yeah, that's fair.
People don't like it. I'm not even sure if they like it, but I'm going to call them Crow because that's what I came up with. Well, you are officially on the EdTech Bites podcast, sir. So
awesome.
We break bread on the show. Literally break bread. So got a couple donut holes here.
Oh, perfect.
I've been watching my weight, so I'm going to have one throughout the entire day.
Now, you call them donut holes down here. We call these Timbits in Canada.
Say it again?
We call these Timbits. When you go to Tim Hortons, Timbits.
Oh, Timbits, like Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons, so these are called Timbits.
You learn something new every day. All right, cheers, brother.
Cheers.
All right, let's do this. Small bites for me. And while you're eating that, I'm going to ask you a question that I want you to think about. I parked my DeLorean outside, and we're going to go jump in that thing, and we're going to go back about 10 years. I want you to think about a piece of advice that you would give your younger, prior self from 10 years ago with what you now know today.
So I've been teaching for 19 years now.
Okay.
So I can definitely look back and say, what would I do? The first thing I would do, and there's a few of them, I would say, really don't be afraid to take risks and have things fail in your classroom. Let your students see that. Try things. Not everything's going to work. Learn from those, figure out what works, what doesn't, move forward. I'm really fortunate that in my board, my regional education center, we have a director who encourages us to take risks and try things and figure out what works, what doesn't, because the students learn from us showing them it's okay to fail at something and say, you know what, that lesson didn't work. We'll try this again tomorrow. We're going to do it a different way. And so I would do that. Second thing, I would ask myself, what would Peter Rackham do? Anyone from Halifax who's listening to this will know Peter Rackham was an English language arts teacher. He's since passed away, but he was using technology in the classrooms before we were using technology in the classrooms. He was my grade 9 English language arts teacher in 1988, 89. He was bringing computers into the classroom like the Commodore 64s, Apple IIes, bringing his own VHS camera in, so we're talking carrying around the old VCR on the shoulder and having us make videos. And I think of all the different platforms that are out there today, and I ask myself, what would Mr. Rackham do with it? What would he make of an iPhone? And how would he use that in a classroom, let alone all the other things that are coming online? And I've been doing that for 10 years, asking myself that question. I would say, younger self, make sure you keep asking that question.
What would Mr. Rackham do?
Yep.
You just created the title of our episode.
There we go.
A big shout out to Mr. Rackham. May he rest in paradise.
Yeah.
And his legacy will live on in innovation.
Oh, absolutely.
It's innovation, right?
Yeah.
He's bringing it to the forefront. Technology, and I like the way you phrased that. He was using technology in the classroom before we were using technology in the classroom.
He saw what was coming.
Visionary. I like that. Are there any other sessions that you are super excited about?
I have chosen a bunch of different things to go with. Obviously, in 2025, AI is a huge topic, and I'm going to be looking at those. I'm also wanting to dig deeper into UDL and learning more about that. And I'm also really interested in neurodivergence.
Okay, that's big.
It is big, and I'm 49 years old. I'll be 50 this year. I was only diagnosed with ADHD 5 years ago. And so as I'm looking at my own journey, I'm understanding more about myself and what it was like to be a student. And I understand more about that with my students. And I can think about, how do I want to change things? How can technology help my students who are neurodivergent as well? And building classrooms that are more accessible to all of them. So I'm really looking forward to some of those sessions as well.
All right. How can people connect with you on the internets?
All right. So right now I am on Blue Sky.
All right.
Yep. I'm making the move over there and really liking the platform. And so it's Mr. Francis at bluesky.social.
All right. All that information is going to be in the show notes, ladies and gentlemen. That way you don't have to worry about pulling over, about stopping your walk, about maybe putting your Timbits down so you can write this down. Just click on the links in the show notes. That way you can connect with Roy, see what he learned from this conference. And if you haven't attended an in-person conference such as FETC or one of this magnitude, then maybe after listening to this episode, this might be your motivation to kind of tap your director, your boss, your principal, or somebody on the shoulder and start getting on them, because conference season is here and never stop learning, right?
Absolutely. This is a fantastic opportunity for people.
Yeah. I have $1 million question for you, sir. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. This is quite possibly the most difficult question you'll ever be asked at a conference. Nevertheless, here at FETC, are you ready?
I am ready.
Corn tortillas or flour tortillas?
Corn.
Sir, I am Team Corn, and I will always give a round of applause to someone who is Team Corn as well. I respect a good flour tortilla, but as you know, brother, there's nothing like a good corn tortilla, right?
Well, we don't really get them made fresh in Nova Scotia, so when you're buying those, it's I get corn tortillas at the grocery store. Those are the ones I pick up.
All right. Whatever works, and I will tell you, in Orlando, do a little research and pick some up.
Well, I'm looking at that. I'm also looking at a couple of barbecue places to hit up while I'm down here. I'm a big fan of Southern barbecue. So
you might as well just go ahead and go get another suitcase right now before it gets too late.
Yeah.
So, all right, brother, I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your conference. Thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for everything you do in education, in our space, and everything that you're doing for our students, our educators, and being a lifelong learner.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.